Hi there, welcome to Filling In. I'm Phil,
I'm Dave.
and today we're going to be talking about the movie Dracula Untold. Well, okay, when I first heard about this movie, I wasn't sure what was going on. I mean, I've been hearing about a new Dracula-esque movie, and, well, okay, there's a whole bunch of Dracula movies from the 1930s or 1920s onwards till today, so really, yeah, you're probably thinking, what can make this any different than any of the others, and what's really being told that hasn't already been told before, right? So, yeah, it was previously under like the title of Dracula Year Zero, and it was going to be directed by Alex Proyas, who you may know for directing The Crow, Dark City, I, Robot, Knowing, and you have Sam Worthington, but then this got changed to, well, having this new guy, Gary Shore, and starring Luke Evans. And yeah, so since it's October and this is Dracula, you're thinking that this is a horror movie, right? Not exactly, no. This is more something along the lines of a dark fantasy type thing, right, Dave?
And love story.
You love story, but not something done in the way of Twilight. Oh,
Not Twilight,
fuck,
but love.
fuck no.
Love story.
Fuck
and
no.
It had a definite love story feel to it.
It was a love story that made sense for
Yeah,
this movie,
right, exactly.
not something that made you want to pull your hair out and just go up to those characters and kick them in the balls repeatedly. No, this is actually more understandable, and it's not something that's so whiny and wimpy. It's actually kind of touching and understandable, and it's a little rushed given the movie, but it's okay too. So, yeah, Dracula Untold is now, from what I've been hearing, this is supposed to be a reboot of the Universal Monsters franchises. I mean, and I'm talking the Creature from the Black Lagoon, the Mummy, the Wolfman, Frankenstein, the Invisible Man, and even Van Helsing from back in 2004. And I love the Universal Monster movies. Both Dave and I love the Universal Monsters. My favorite's the Wolfman and Creature from the Black Lagoon, and I love the other ones. Dave, what's your favorite?
Well, it's probably Dracula, the Invisible Man.
Yeah, but
I like the Wolfman too.
Yeah.
It is.
But
Well, that's
and those movies back in the day, they were groundbreaking at the time with some of the best visual and makeup effects that you could get at the time, and the acting you would regard as a bit hokey. But come on, I mean, there were movies that were meant to scare you at the time, and okay, maybe they're not exactly on par with modern day horror movies, but
Well, they were from like the 30s and stuff. So.
yeah, but.
For the time period, I
Yeah,
think they were decent.
Yeah, but they were good and groundbreaking. This movie, I wouldn't say it's trying to evoke that kind of feel. Again, it's a dark fantasy type of movie, so it's not so much trying to be scary as it is something that's action adventure type of thing. But not so much that it overrides well, I wouldn't say it overrides the scare factor. I'd say it maybe somewhat complements it.
Yeah. There wasn't a whole lot of scares in it.
No, I mean it tried to be. I mean it tried to be a little scary with some of the visuals and stuff, but not too much. Again, because they're trying to make this whole new cinematic universe with the Universal Monsters, they're trying to make it more coherent, trying to make it more understandable, more relatable for a modern day audience, and yeah, so. Dracula Untold. It's a pretty decent movie. It is. We saw it last night, and yeah, we liked it. I mean, the only thing that is really troublesome is just the ending, which we'll get to later. But yeah, basically, this movie tries to incorporate how. It tries to incorporate Dracula's origins. It's not really an adaptation of the book, and I'm going to get a lot of hate for this. I haven't exactly read the book. I only read a bit of it, and it's okay, but yeah, this movie is trying to explain Dracula's origins, and they go off saying that Dracula is the actual person of which he was based on, Vlad the Impaler. And I thought that was pretty decent. And plus, it's not the most ridiculous origin story for Dracula in any form of medium ever. I mean, there's been plenty of ridiculous ones. I mean, you remember Dracula 2000, how they tried to say that Dracula was Judas Iscariot?
Yeah, right.
That was weird.
Yeah, a lot of stuff doesn't make sense, but hey, go away to say.
Yeah. So, and yeah, so the movie starts off with Vlad the Impaler having come back from some war for a period of time, and he's ruling his land of Transylvania. But here's something that's really off for me. He's called Prince Vlad. Where is the king? Is there a king here? I mean, okay, I don't know too much about Transylvanian monarchy, hierarchy, whatever, but where is the king? Is there a king?
Yeah,
Was there
never a mention of the king at all.
No, there was no king. They are
Just
heavily
prince.
reliant on the prince.
Exactly.
Where is the king here? I mean, the prince is already married. Shouldn't he already be king? Why is he named Prince? It makes no sense to me. I mean, I'm sure that there are others who have a better explanation, but it didn't make sense to me. This is just a nitpicky thing, but it didn't make sense to me why he's called Prince. Why he's a prince, why he's not a king, or maybe even at least a lord. Hell, his name, he's called Count Dracula. That is at least a more signifying way of how he's the man in charge.
Or they could have just eliminated it and just called him Vlad instead of Prince Vlad.
Or Lord Vlad,
Yeah,
or Count
whatever.
Vlad, I don't know. But yeah, he's about to, his country is being threatened by the Turks to give up his country, give up 1,000 of his boys, including his own son. And I'm not saying that his son is included in the 1,000 men. His son is in addition to the 1,000 boys. Huh. That's kind of... Why would he want Vlad's son too? I mean, yes, Vlad was given up to the Turkish army, but why take Vlad's son as the 1,001 person? For spite? I don't know. I mean, they sort of get along well. I mean, both Vlad and crap, I can't remember his name. Do you remember?
I can't even remember what his name
Well,
was. Did they really ever mention that guy's name?
I
I'm
think
sure
they
did,
I think they did, but I can't remember it very well. But anyway, they come in and they talk. They seem to call each other brothers, but they about act as the most brotherly of brothers since. I'm trying to think of a brother joke here.
I'm not really good with this.
I can't think of a good sibling rivalry joke. Whatever. Insert a siblings known for their rivalry joke here. But anyway, yeah, and so Vlad is like, no, I gotta resort to the most drastic of means to make sure that my people aren't invaded. So he goes up to a haunted mountain called Broken Tooth.
Yeah, Broken Tooth Mountain.
And he encounters Charles Dance, who's a vampire. Now, when I looked up this movie, it said that Charles Dance's character was supposed to be the Roman Emperor Caligula turned into a vampire.
I did not know that. They didn't?
Yeah, but they didn't call him by Caligula.
No.
So I guess that information is false. Thanks, Wikipedia. But yeah, he's the master vampire. He apparently became a vampire because he made a deal with a demon, but he is forced to live in a cave, and so he gives Vlad his blood, so he'll become a vampire too. And
For 3 days.
For 3 days, and as long as he's able to resist drinking human blood for 3 days, he won't be cursed to be a monster forever. And Vlad actually does well, despite some setbacks, such as not being able to wear his silver ring, having forced to hide in the shadows and not go out in daylight, and not even able to make sweet, sweet love with his wife.
Which is pretty hot, by the way.
Yeah, so, but if there's not a bigger wah, wah, wah moment in this movie, then I don't know what is. So, yeah, after 3 days, Vlad's been able to fight off his enemies pretty well, but then in a surprising move, and this was actually surprising given the movie. You know, I kind of thought it would sort of end with him beating his enemies, and then suddenly he's gonna turn into a monster for the rest of his life. But then, the Turkish king is hiding as a plain soldier, while he sends his men to go kill his wife and son. They kidnap the son. The wife falls, and he's able to save her, sort of. Yeah, that was kind of confusing. Did she fall away all the way to the ground,
Yeah,
or did he?
She fell to the ground.
Yeah, but she was
But
still alive.
survived.
She was able to survive that fall. Did he cushion her? Did she even fall down on the ground at all? What? But then she's like, "Oh, take my blood so you can continue to save our people and our son." And he does, and then he turns his people into vampires like himself. They kill all the Turks, and okay, the final battle between the Turk and Vlad, or Dracula as he's now being called, that was really confusing, because they're surrounded by silver coins, and Vlad, only his skin can get hurt by the silver.
Right.
But as long as he's wearing his armor, he's fine. But he decides to do one-on-one armed combat with the Turk when he could just simply kill him in half a second. I mean, he's been able to do that.
Right. He
By
killed
turning
10,000 men by himself, right?
He killed 10,000 men, turning into bats, using all dark forces to kill these guys. But yet, he decides to do man-to-man fight with the Turkish king. Why?
And he was getting his ass kicked there for a bit.
Yeah, but then and then the silver suddenly started able to melt through his armor.
Yeah, I think so.
And then at the last minute, he turns into a swarm of bats and kills the guy. This makes no sense. Well, to be fair, it's not as inconsistent as it was with Blood Rain. I mean, the Blood Rain thing, they were kind of weird with the whole vampire weaknesses thing. At least it's not as bad as. At least in Dracula Untold, it's not as bad as with Blood Rain. And so yeah, the vampires are all like they're gonna swarm Dracula and his kid and take him. But then the one monk who was suddenly able to see that Dracula was a vampire.
And that was another thing. Why wasn't the monk turned into a vampire?
Yeah, how did he survive the massacre?
He survived not being a vampire.
How did he survive the massacre?
Really
Where was he? He was at the monastery.
I guess his cross was holding everybody at bay while everybody else was being turned into a vampire. I don't know.
Oh, and plus, yeah, funny thing, both the monk and Dracula's kid were played by Paul Kaye and Art Parkinson, who are both actors from Game of Thrones. Kind of fitting that they both escaped together, I guess.
Maybe.
Thoros of Myr and Rickon Stark. Oh, Rickon, well, I guess you're leaving another set of parents behind again. And yeah, Dracula is apparently dead from sunlight, but he manages to live through one of his creepy servants.
Yeah, did they really go into who that guy was?
No! Who was he? He appeared out of nowhere.
You only saw him like twice,
Yeah!
and they never really explained who he was or
No.
what.
Yeah,
But somehow he seemed to know about Dracula.
Yeah, he knew that he was a vampire now and everything. And, yeah.
Kind of akin to like Igor, I would guess, but
I don't know.
really. I don't know.
And then suddenly the movie shifts to present day. And it's trying to say, oh, hey, we're going into the actual Dracula story now.
Yeah.
And Dracula meets Mina, they flirt a bit, and then you see the master vampire, all human looking, and then it ends with him walking away saying, "Let the games begin." Is that a Game of Thrones pun, Charles? Is that a Game of Thrones pun?
Or Saul.
Nah.
Not really.
No. Saw's a different territory. But, yeah, was that written as a Game of Thrones pun? I can understand that sort of leading up into a sequel or to whatever other Universal Monsters reboot is going to be with this whole Universal Monsters cinematic universe. But I can't help but feel that both Charles Dance and whoever wrote this movie thought, hey, let's include a Game of Thrones pun because we have 3 Game of Thrones actors in this movie. Not that I find that bad, but it was just really weird. It came out of nowhere there. But yeah, so this movie was short. I mean, it was like, what, an hour and a half long?
Hour and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
And it's got some pretty good effects. And yeah, Luke Evans, he was good as Dracula. I mean, if I had to say what was my favorite Draculas, because yeah, there's so many different versions. I mean, out of the Draculas I've seen, I like Bela Lugosi and Gary Oldman. And I mean, Richard Roxburgh was okay given the context of the movie, since it was trying to be all sort of campy, adventure, B-horror movie type of thing, I guess, with a dark fantasy feel. But Luke Evans, I mean, I guess maybe because he's the younger actor and this is supposed to be about young Dracula and how he became the monster that he was, he actually does manage to do a terrific performance here. And it makes me excited to see what they're going to do with the whole Universal Monsters thing.
Well, I would say this for the PG-13 rating, it was better than what I expected.
Yeah, I mean, when you think PG-13 horror movies, you don't think it's going to be a good movie.
Yeah, you automatically think it's not going to be.
I mean, I am confused why they do PG-13 horror movies at all. I can understand that not all horror movies are supposed to be bloody and gory and everything, so they wouldn't have the R rating. And this movie wasn't quite so bloody and gory, though it did have some moments that make me think, are we sure this is supposed to be PG-13?
Yeah, there were some moments in the battle scenes and stuff.
Yeah, like when Dracula impaled that one guy at the end of a spear, and he starts dissolving down to a skeleton. I mean, is this really supposed to be PG-13? I get the feeling there's going to be an unrated director's cut or something of this movie when it comes out on DVD.
We can hope so, maybe.
Yeah, maybe, but...
Or maybe an alternate... Maybe an alternate ending.
Yeah, I mean...
I can only hope for that.
They really rushed that ending. I mean, I haven't seen so much setup for a sequel bait type of thing since Green Lantern. The post credits ending for Green Lantern was screaming sequel, but that never happened. And the ending of this movie, screaming sequel. But honestly, I could see a sequel happening with this movie because again, they're trying to do the whole Universal Monsters reboot cinematic universe type of thing where they all coexist in this one thing, much like with the Disney Marvel movies and TV shows. So, yeah. The story, yeah, it had plot holes, but I guess it makes sense given the fact that this movie was an hour and a half long.
Yeah.
So I don't know what to expect with a follow-up. I mean, again, they're doing that whole Mummy reboot, Van Helsing reboot, and a whole bunch of other monster reboots, and that's pretty good. I like how they're doing this whole dark fantasy thing, but it's not something like with Twilight, where it just makes you scream at how stupid it is.
Yeah, hopefully not.
I mean, I understand that young adult dark fantasy stories are all the rage. I do. I love Harry Potter. But stuff like Twilight and a couple other stuff, they're like, it's just pandering.
Well, those are specifically targeted, I would figure,
yeah,
towards
but even,
girls.
Yeah. But
I don't know, I wouldn't say that the horror genre doesn't have a big fan base of females, but
yeah,
it's an opening.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess maybe, again, this is just a way of trying to connect better with a modern audience, and it kind of does with the whole dark fantasy thing. But not in a way that's so insultingly stupid like Twilight.
Yeah, I'll agree with that.
I mean, and I will say Twilight is so bad it's good type of thing, you know? You just enjoy hating it.
Well, I can honestly say I never saw Twilight, so...
Yeah,
I never will.
I saw it, I saw it, and I read the books, and I did get a kick out of them. You know, I laughed at how I just laughed at all the stupid moments, but... And when it finally ended with Breaking Dawn Part 2, I thought, you know, they surprisingly ended on kind of a high note there, you know? Because, well, for one, it's finally over, and two, I guess they thought, hey, it's over. Let's at least try to make something decent out of it.
Yeah. Well, that's a good
But thankfully, that's not the case with this because it's actually trying to be a bit more mature than that. I mean, well, maybe not a bit more mature, maybe substantially more mature. What else? What else is there that we can talk about this movie? But yeah, I mean, but yeah, it's not exactly a scary movie, but it is something that you can get a good kick out of, and it's a very good time. It's not, I wouldn't say it's like the best, but it's pretty good.
I thought it was better. It was better than what I thought it was going to be.
It was. Yeah, because when I first saw the trailer for it, I thought, oh boy, we're in for this kind of movie.
Yeah.
A kind of movie that tries to say, oh, we're dark and deep, but really it's just a whole bunch of special effects and we're just masturbating and jerking off and blowing it all over your faces.
Right. Yeah.
But it's actually surprisingly very. It's
You
pretty.
know,
it's pretty
had,
decent.
It had multi levels of storyline.
Yeah.
It wasn't just Vlad's going to turn into a vampire and kill
No,
you.
he
was actually trying to do his best for his family, and he was trying
and his kingdom.
and his kingdom, and he was trying, but eventually that didn't work out, and he had to go try deeper, and he got the results that maybe not he wanted, but I guess in the end it turned out sort of, kind of the way he wanted, but not really.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, I also kind of thought they would have turned him more into sort of you know how Richard Roxburgh and Van Helsing, his Dracula would turn into this giant gargoyle type vampire. Yeah. I kind of thought that we might have been seeing that with Luke the Luke Evans Dracula wearing his dragon armor and everything. But
I will say when he turned into a vampire, it wasn't like the greatest. It was kind of lame.
Yeah, he just drinks blood out
really,
of
all you saw was the teeth, and you didn't see any like great. Like,
oh, you're talking about when he drinks blood through people's necks, not when he drank blood.
Yeah, like after he drank the blood from the dude in the cave.
Yeah.
And then when he turned into a vampire, it wasn't really that awesome. But
also, how the heck did he end up all the way in that river after he drank the blood?
I don't know.
He's in the cave and then suddenly he just wakes up on a river.
But I will give him props for climbing the mountain to get into that cave, though.
Yeah, I mean, wearing all that armor too. I mean. He must have been breaking his back trying to get up there. But anyway, yeah, it's a pretty good movie. It's a pretty good sit, and at least it's a way of saying, hey, October actually has horror movies this year. So yeah, definitely go see it. It's worth the watch. You'll get a little frustrated and annoyed with some of the stuff, but it's pretty good. All right, well, I'm Phil.
I'm Dave.
All right, and this is Filling In, so check you later.